Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Next? Hi, I'm Stacey Riska, your franchise dream matchmaker, here to help you do what you love what you do in a business that's a perfect match for you. Now, if you're like most people that I talk to, you're kind of curious about owning your own business, maybe even looking at a franchise, but not really sure where to start, what that process is going to look like, and even thinking, could I possibly find the business of my dreams? Well, our two guests today are going to share with you their journey in going through the process of working with me to end up in a Zoom and Grooming location. And they'll share more with you what Zoom and Grooming is. So my guests today are Janna Blardoni and Peter Fow, husband-wife duo down in Crestview, Florida. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Welcome to What's Your Next? This is the go-to podcast for aspiring business owners who want to get to the next level, escape the rat race, and give their middle finger to the corporate 9-to-5. If you want financial freedom, work-life balance, and the business of your dreams, you're in the right place. Dave and Stacey Riska, husband-wife franchising duo, openly share their successes, failures, and lessons learned in franchising, business ownership, and working with your spouse.
Hi, thanks for having us on the show, Stacey. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's start in the beginning, meaning pre-franchise. And Janna, let's start with you because you were the person who reached out to me first. And so I'm curious to know, what were you doing a few months ago that kind of got you thinking about owning a business? What were you doing?
Well, prior to owning this business, I was a probation officer in Crestview, Florida. And prior to that, I was law enforcement in North Dakota. And prior to that, I was an Air Force military police officer. So
wow, okay.
My profession has been holding a badge for several years now, about 13 years.
I see that.
And for a while there, for the last few months before I actually started up this process, I was just thinking to myself, I am entirely burnt out from this job. It's something that I was very, very good at, but I knew in my heart of hearts, it's not something that I wanted to stay in. I wanted something that would bring me happiness and something that, you know, I could do while I'm happy doing it, also earning money while doing it.
A common statement that I hear from many of my candidates. I'm just not happy doing what I do. As my wall says, I want to, do what I love what I do, and I'm not there right now. Peter, how about you? What was your background? What were you doing before you looked at business ownership?
So I was and currently am still an Air Force officer. So I've been doing that for 13 years now. And that's actually where we met. And so I'm still going to be still maintaining that, but essentially just helping Jay out with the business as it goes here. At the end of this day, I'm here to support, but this is really her endeavor. So, co-owner support in the background, but I don't want to say like not an active member, but I have another full-time job. So
cool. That is a very common situation with a lot of husband-wife teams who look at business ownership. They go into the process together, and of course, they're ultimately going to support each other. But many times, one of them will keep the job, so to speak, right? And that as the other one's building up the business. So it's interesting that both of you are veterans, have served our country. Thank you for that. 1 out of every 7 franchises is veteran owned. Oh, wow. So what skill sets do you think from your past experience are going to help you be successful in your franchise from being in the military? Janna, start with you.
I think definitely leadership skills, people skills, and management, especially since I was an officer in the military, and they teach you a lot of those and groom you to be an officer with dealing with individuals and the job and task management, mission management, people management. So it's definitely those three aspects that I think would help me out with owning a franchise and being able to successfully navigate that franchise in this day and age.
Absolutely. Peter, any skills you feel you're going to bring?
I feel like the biggest thing is probably adaptability. In the military, regardless of what your job is, you're going to be forced to do 40 different jobs. And that's kind of like being a small business owner is, you're going to be the owner, which means you're going to be dealing with finances, taxes, payroll, marketing, everything, buying equipment, fueling stuff up, part-time mechanic. You're going to be out there changing tires. You're going to be out there, negotiating with the trash company, trying to get them to come up and do an extra pickup. Whatever is the problem with your business, at some point you're going to be the person who has to deal with it. So I think the adaptability that comes from having to do 40 different jobs in the military, regardless of what your actual job is something that's definitely going to help.
Absolutely. You both just came in with such strong skill sets. So Janna, we had connected on LinkedIn, which is how you originally reached out to me. And so actually, let me back up a second. I'm curious to know, before you reached out to me in your previous lives, have either of you had the lemonade stand or something like that? Like, have either of you owned a business or been entrepreneurs before? Janna?
No, absolutely not. This is the first time I've ever owned a business, whether it's through a franchise or, a self-owned business. That this is completely my first time as an entrepreneur.
And Peter?
It's the same thing. So never had anything, remotely looking like a business. I've been a W-2 employee for the government for my entire adult life. So
okay. So both of you are the same in that regard. No previous business experience. So then let's kind of talk about the trigger. What happened? What made you say, you know what? I think I'm going to look at business ownership. Janna, what do you think?
I wanted a different job where I can make my own hours and be in control of the situation, while being a W-2 worker for a department or the government is fine. After a while, like I said, it wears on you and you just get burnt out from doing the job day in, day out, 8 to 5, and sometimes not even 8 to 5. I had to work different hours, and it was a difficult experience in balancing work life with family life, and I just felt like it wasn't conducive to what I wanted out of life for my life goals. So that kind of triggered me to explore business ownership, because in the back of my mind, one of my bucket list items was to own a business, not a grand business, but just to own my own business, whether it was small or a little bit bigger, and just start it and see where it goes from there.
Okay, so some unhappiness at work kind of triggered it, but kudos to you for having a bucket list and thinking, you know what? I want control of my life. I want to own my own business. So I'm curious to know, did you and Peter have a conversation about this? Like, what made you both come together and say, yeah, let's do this?
I think we've, over the years, had multiple conversations about this. Not necessarily about starting a franchise. That started when we started talking to you. It had originally started, I don't even know how long ago.
It was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, because I reached out to you, Stacey, over a year ago, and then we kind of just drifted apart because I thought to myself, I can hang in there. I'll do my 20 with the badge, and that didn't really pan out as I was going, and so I was like, I really just want to start my own business. So yeah, we started talking throughout the years, and it just come up randomly. What if we own this business, or what if we start this business?
I mean, I was at the point one time where I was like, you love woodworking, just sell your stuff on Etsy. You can quit your job. We'll get you space to do woodworking full time. You're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then it was, maybe we could open a cafe. Maybe we'll do coffee. And then it was like, hey, how can we incorporate animals into this? And wanted to get dogs or pets, or be associated with a rescue or animal shelter, something like that. So like we've been throwing around ideas like this for I don't know, what, 3 or 4 years now almost.
Something like that. Yeah.
And so it's been a while. And then talking to you, we finally kind of hit on, got options for some franchises, and slowly I guess, whittled down, went through the process, looked at them, see which ones would fit us. And that's kind of where it took off, I would say.
Very nice. All right. So that's kind of where a lot of people start. Like they just start dreaming, right? Like, what would my life look like? And maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that and all these kinds of things. But it never really comes to fruition because the reality is if you're trying to do a business on your own, it can be very difficult because you just don't know what you don't know. And so at that point, Janna, you had reached out to me. And as you know, my specialty is more on franchises because they have a proven system for success. So I tend to lean my candidates towards looking at those types of businesses. When you started talking with me, did you have franchise in your mind? Could you have envisioned yourself at that early stage looking at that type of a business?
Actually, absolutely not. My goal with you was honestly to start my own business from ground up. And after having many discussions with you, it just seemed like because this is my first time being an entrepreneur, the backing and support of a franchise was very necessary for us to get up on the off the ground and kind of learn how to own a business. So that's what kind of directed me towards the franchise aspect of it versus just starting up my own business from bottom up.
And so both of you together, you were so engaged in the process. You came to all the calls, you did your homework, you went through the process. Peter, we'll start with you. What would you share with our audience of what that journey looked like? What did you learn? What mistakes maybe did you make along the way? What do you want our audience to know that process is like?
So with that process, there's you're going to get a ton of information, and that's probably the hardest thing is you're going to sit down. If you go the franchise route, you're going to get 5, 6, 7 franchises that Stacey gives you and you think might be good. Immediately, you're probably going to know that a few of them aren't going to work for you. That's not really what you had in mind. Some of them are brick and mortar versus non-brick and mortar. Some of them have entirely different kinds of stuff, entirely different levels of initial investment, entirely different number of employees, and certain portions of those things might not work for you. That's fine, right? Don't worry about it. Just keep going through, find the ones that you think might work for you. And then that's where you should kind of dig in. And then you're going to get a little bit more, going down the franchise stuff, you're going to get to the franchise disclosure document. Again, tons of information, just go slow. Google things you don't know, talk to Stacey, talk to other people. Usually the franchisors will be more than willing to, clarify things that happen when you get to that step. So it's just keep an open mind. I wouldn't say don't discount anything, but if you can find the ones that absolutely aren't going to work for you, I would say stop fairly quickly. That's going to be wasted effort. You're going to have more than enough work on your hands without diving in deep into every single thing. So those are my big tips, is just kind of getting through the the franchise disclosure document.
Yeah, that's
once you get to that, that's really the big thing to swallow and digest and mentally figure out if it's right for you, because you're going to have to start making decisions fairly soon after that.
Right. And so, Janna, when you started the process, as you just shared with us, you were coming in with the idea that, I think I want to start a business from scratch, do my own thing. So talk about your experience of going through this. Was there sort of a sudden shift or an aha moment that made you lean towards franchises, and share what your experience was going through the process?
Yeah, I mean, before the meeting where you picked out several franchises for us, we had discussed opening up a cafe, and we were going to call it Pups and Cups Cafe because we wanted to integrate animals into it. But, after researching that, because we did a bit of research on it, after researching it, we found that it's very difficult to own some sort of eatery type environment with animals, and there's a lot of documents and processes you need to go through. So that was one thing. And then just owning your own business, I was researching into that, what types of documents you need to have, what types of state licenses and all of that. And I had no idea what to do, like absolutely no idea. And so I was like, well, when I talked to you, you're like, the franchise actually takes you step by step through all of those and gives you the backing and help you need to start it. So I'm like, great, let's do franchise because I have no idea what I'm doing as a brand new entrepreneur. So that's what kind of pushed me towards the franchise aspect of it, from as opposed to starting my own business by myself.
Okay, that was the aha moment. Makes sense. So as we went through the process and you were sharing with me what you love, what you don't necessarily love, business concepts you might be interested in, as you said, we kind of sat down and we looked at many different concepts. So, kind of share, were you surprised at the concepts that you got presented with, and share what that journey was like in kind of winnowing it down to the one?
So the franchise we picked now and are actually doing was not the franchise.
Drum roll is what?
It's Zoom and Groomin'. Yep, Zoom and Groomin'. It's a mobile pet spa, and when we first talked, I told you that I had a passion for animals, so I wanted to do something with animals. And I had kind of a background in law enforcement for training and certifying canines, so I kind of wanted to go to the training route. And you picked 3 different training routes for us, franchises, and brick and mortar type franchises for pet sitting and things like that. And that was actually one of the second favored one aside from dog training. And then I hadn't even ever considered dog grooming at all because I'm not a groomer. So I didn't know that franchises, like, you can be a semi-absentee owner, which is what this model is based off of. And I had no idea that that was a possibility. I thought you had to be owner operator and actually do it specifically for a smaller type business, and like the way this model is set up. So so whittling it down, it just kind of came down to learning about the different franchises that you presented to us, doing the research there, and kind of going through the FDD, the financial disclosure document with each of the franchises that we kind of chose that might fit. And after discussing with the mentors from each of the franchises, we settled with Zoom and Groomin' because it was just a very good fit in terms of life work balance versus the other franchises. Not that I'm saying they're not great, but I just thought that this was a better fit for us, and which is why we settled in with Zoom and Groomin'.
Peter, what was your experience in going through that process?
So it was kind of the same. I knew that since Janna was going to be the primary one working on this, I was trying to consider some stuff for her. For example, when we thought that the grooming portion would require her to do grooming, I was like, you already have existing back injuries. You don't need to be picking up dogs and all of this stuff. And then we kind of found out that's not how it works. In fact, with the franchise, none of the franchisees are active groomers. So it's more of a, the franchisees are acting as management and, organizing, dealing with all of the back end stuff, and letting the professional groomers be professional groomers. So that was news, and that definitely was interesting to hear. With some of the other ones, there were issues we kind of came up, or I don't want to say issues that came up with, but concerns that we had in terms of timeline, where it was like multiple months of training or multiple months of startup that would be going into it, that were I would say kind of onerous and make it very difficult to expand and hire on new employees because of the upfront costs of doing all that stuff with every employee. And then some of the other things was, we have experience in this local area trying to get our dogs groomed. And I don't have any experience in this area trying to get my dogs boarded or trying to get my dogs trained. right? So I know the market here when it comes to dog grooming. And I know that they could definitely use more dog groomers around here, and they could use good ones, people who are responsive, people who can book you in under a month, that type of thing. So the general market is definitely, I would say, not only like in need of it, but we could easily fit in here, and not have to worry about, heavy competition in that realm. Whereas on the dog training side, there's tons of dog trainers here, because this is a heavy military area, a lot of military bases. So you have a lot of former military who were professional dog trainers for 15, 20 years, and then they're bringing those skills onto, the market. So I would say it's pretty saturated here with dog training, not so much with dog grooming.
That brings up a really great point, because as you were going through the process, you were doing your due diligence, and part of the criteria you were looking at is, what's the need in my marketplace? That's a lot of times people don't do their market research in that regards. They're just like, oh, everybody's going to want whatever I have, whatever business I'm in, it's in demand. And it's not always true. So you were kind of looking at the demographics and understanding your area where there's a need. And you realize that on the training side, it's a little bit saturated. But you know what? There's an opportunity here with grooming. And we had no idea we could do it via mobile. So
Exactly.
you guys are going to be like ramping up really quickly. That's why I'm so glad I've got you on my show now. So you went through the process with me, kind of coming in with open eyes, vetting out some different franchises, ultimately coming down to the one that you're moving forward with, Zoom and Grooming. How long did that process take for you?
Let's see, we started talking probably, we started talking probably in August. And then September, we got in touch with Zoom and Grooming along with the other franchises. Then probably towards middle of September, we got the FDD from Zoom and Grooming, and we reviewed that. End of September, we probably, I think end of September, we decided to go ahead with Zoom and Grooming and cut the rest of the franchises. And then beginning of October, I think we signed, about beginning of October, we signed the franchise agreement with them. And then we did training at the end of October with them. And now we're just waiting for our van, which should be coming in January. So, I mean, the process is going to take about 3-4 months in total.
Wow. Okay. So in 3 to 4 months, you're going to be up and running in what will hopefully be the business of your dreams. So now I'm going to ask a little bit of a pointed question. I'm curious to know, you guys went through the process with me. Talk about concerns that you guys had. Maybe when Stacey wasn't there talking to you, but what were you guys talking about when Stacey got off the phone? Like, did you have doubts? Can we really do this? Are we going to be able to afford it? What was going through your mind? What are some of the things that our audience might be dealing with as well?
I think for us, the biggest concern was financial backing. And I think that's the biggest concern for everyone. We are sitting pretty well financially to be able to pay all of this out of pocket. We put the money aside to pay for this, so we didn't need any lenders. And we're not sitting with very much debt at all. And it's that balance for us that kind of geared us towards doing a small franchise like this as something that's doable versus a very, very big franchise that requires $500,000 to start, whereas this didn't. So it was kind of finances and how much we had in the pot to be able to start it up, which was a concern for us. But ultimately we were able to do it. So that's one of the issues. Pete, do you have any?
I mean, probably the most interesting thing was that going into franchises, we sat down on that first day and you gave, I think this was the first or second meeting that I was a part of, where we got the list of all the franchises, right? And you walked us through them. Sorry. And I was going, I have not heard of a single one of these, like in the back of my mind. going, if these were successful franchises, I probably would have heard of them, right? And like that's what's going in my mind. And then I
Right.
realized that you're not selecting McDonald's, and you're not selecting, yeah, hey, open a PetSmart, right? You're going for fast growing franchises
Mm-hmm.
that you can get in on early, right? So that was part of what I was doing, is I had to go, well, I'm not familiar with any of these. So I can go to their website, I can see some of their franchisees, just quick Google searches, and read reviews of them and see what people say. Again, what that means is you have to do, as a potential franchisee, you have to do more research. You have to spend the time, figure that stuff out. Frankly, like you don't want the company, the franchisor, telling you that they have great reviews. You want to go out there and see it for yourself, right? You want to get to that point. Say, like, don't read the advertising, like read people's worst experiences with them and see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then you have to make that judgment. So that's kind of where I thought it was interesting is, you're probably going to get a list of companies where you haven't heard of a single one of them.
Good
And that's
point.
fine. It doesn't mean that they're bad companies, right? It means that you might be getting in very early. But yeah, they usually won't have established stuff in your area if you're going for a franchise, because otherwise that franchise would probably not be available in your area.
I
You
think,
bring up a really great point, right? And as I'm helping my candidates look at franchises, there's different types. You guys got into an emerging brand, which is exciting because, like you said, it's up and coming. And in my opinion, the franchise is more vested in your success. They want those younger, newer franchisees to be successful because they're launching the brand. On the other side, you're going to get a lot of support, and many times they give you larger territories to start. But it's not for everybody. Sometimes a more established brand with very set rules and rigid procedures to follow is a better franchise for candidates. So do you guys feel like you went through my roadmap, the 9 steps, you made it to the end of the road, you ended up in Zoom and Grooming, you feel like you made the right choice?
oh yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest, also a concern that I had was, once we picked it, it was like, well, what do we do? That's
Now
like,
what?
okay, I picked this, now what? So it's where do I start? But I would say for your viewers, you gotta trust the process with Stacey. But once that process with Stacey is done, who picks you up from there is the franchise. So you'll be assigned some sort of mentor that'll walk you through their process as far as starting up your own business with the franchise. So it's not like, you're done with Stacey and now you don't know what, because the franchise is who's going to help you and support you through the documentation, licensure, all of that stuff, paperwork, equipment, supplies, what all needs to get done, the time frame that needs to get done. They pick it up after your process is done.
And so, Janna, in your case, you put in your resignation. You said goodbye to the job, right? And now you kind of have this ramp up time because your van's not quite ready yet. What are you doing to help get word out in your community about this new business that's about to be launched?
Oh yeah, so the ramp up time right now is great for marketing. So I've been doing a lot of marketing. I've been going through a lot of Facebook groups, and I've been researching the area for the market and who needs it. And like Pete said earlier, there is a great need for it in our area. So every time I go on Facebook, at least once a day, there's somebody asking if there's any mobile groomers in the area that can fit in their animal, because they're in severe need and everyone else is booked a month to 2 months out, or they're not taking clients at all. So I go there and I start typing, and I'm like, Zoom and Groom in Okaloosa is coming to you soon. And follow us on Facebook, and we'll start scheduling in January. We're taking on new clients in January. And just little posts like that is a spark, because it ignites real fast. And then there's like 40 comments within the next hour or two. When can I get in? Hey, what's your phone? And then I've also been going around to other businesses that I usually go to, also associated with my previous job that I've built networking for. So I'll go around there, introduce myself as, you know, an owner of Zoom and Groom in Okaloosa, and that I started my own business, and tell them what we do. And I hand out business cards. So anywhere I go, and, you know, I'll kind of try to slide in there and be like, hey, do you have an animal? I love animals. And then they'll be like, yeah. And sure enough, they'll be like, I need to get them groomed though. And I'm like, well, funny that you mentioned that, because so I've just been doing a lot of marketing this last couple months in preparation for the launch date.
So you're right. You're doing this pre-marketing. You're filling your calendar. You're creating awareness. Your calendar is going to be full as soon as you guys get that ban in. Oh my goodness!
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, that's the plan.
All right. So what's this podcast is What's Your Next? So what is your next? Are you guys planning just to have one van, max it out? Are you guys going to be empire builders and dominate the area? Or are you guys going to diversify and maybe add on a new concept down the road? What is your next?
So the way I view it is this is great because on a brick and mortar you have one size of building.
Yeah.
And to, you know, maximize its potential, you have to have a certain number of employees. You have to have all this stuff. But you can only have one person driving and operating a van at a time. So at this point, you know, we got two employees, and from there we can get 2, 3, 4 vans, and then if we want to, we could expand into nearby areas. But it's all based off of what we want to do. So right. I see it as, you know, get the first van, get it established, get the second van, hire some more people, you know, expand, you know, what we're doing in the area. And then from there, we'll see how it goes, right? If that means that we're good and we just want to stabilize and see how things go, we can do that. If we want to, if we say 2 vans is good, and then we, for some reason, start getting bored, we could always start another business. But I don't expect to be getting too bored for quite a while on this.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say our immediate next right now is focusing on the first van. We've already hired 2 groomers, which puts us to about 5 to 6 days a week. I want to hire another one so that we have 7 days a week, because a lot of the stores don't offer weekends, and that's when people need grooming for their animals, because they're off during the weekend. So the model is set up so that we're supposed to be open, or should be open 7 days a week to maximize efficiency and profit. So I want to try to be able to get to 7 days a week for that first van. And then about 6 months down the road, we're going to reevaluate to see if another van is necessary based on the amount of clients we have in the area.
It's just such a smart strategy, because you guys are going in, you're right. Like, just let's maximize that one van, reinvest our profits, then grow and scale from there, versus just like, we're going to come in and own and dominate the whole area and have 20 trucks. And then you guys are going to like probably be miserable and say, why did I do this? So it's such a smart strategy. So Janna and Peter, congratulations.
Thank
on
you.
Going from JOB to business owner, following the process, ending up in what I know is going to be the business of your dreams. What parting words of wisdom do you want to leave with our audience today?
I say, for me, start with that small dream, and then make sure you have an open mind to adapt that dream into the possibility of a franchise with Stacey, and trust in the process to know that it'll work out, and that the franchise that you choose is going to pick you up and lead you to success.
Wonderful. Peter, how about you?
If you think you got a good idea, there's nothing wrong with sleeping on it. Stacey is not going to give you a hard time about it.
I'm known to have some tough love every once in a while. You guys were wonderful.
Sleep on it once is good.
You guys followed the process, the system. Shoot, Janna's out there telling everybody what my system is. She's giving me my little sidekick here. She knows my heart. But some people, they only make it a few steps, and then they need a little bit of tough love. And hey, you know, the road to having the business of your dreams, it's not for everybody. But as you guys heard today from Janna and Peter, you can do it. These were just everyday people who were in the military, had a job, but had a dream that they wanted something more control over their destiny and their future. So they went through the process, explored business ownership, and now are the proud owners of a Zoom and Grooming franchise. You can do it too. Hope to see you next time on What's Your Next. Bye, everybody.
Bye.